So, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to moderate today's panel with such leaders from the, just the region. So, my first round of questions will be specific to each panelist. So, please feel free to introduce yourself, your mission, your company's aim with the AI, and your operations. So, let's start with Ussen. Ussen. The Baiterek holding as a very important and fostering innovation, just a driver in Kazakhstan. And, in some industries, we know that AI has already shown transformative results. But what do you see in your role, in your company's role, boosting the productivity in, let me say, traditional sectors, like they didn't have their digital transformation journey completed yet, like mining, agriculture? What do you see? How the AI gonna transform those kind of traditional technologies in the region?
Okay, thank you, Kübra. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so as you said, maybe I should make a brief introduction of our company. So to give you the context, Baiterek Holding is a state-owned enterprise. We are, 30 billion in assets, holding of 9 financial entities in Kazakhstan. Our mission is to diversify Kazakhstan's economy. As you know, Kazakhstan is mainly a resource-based economy, so our mission is to develop non-resource side of that. So we are present in manufacturing. We support businesses in manufacturing, in agriculture. We support, promote exports, and we provide around 70 different financial, non-financial services to small, medium enterprises, even micro entities, to big businesses. Those instruments, financial instruments, they range from general loans, lease of equipment, transport, guarantees, insurance, investments, you name it. So my goal as a CTO at Baiterek is to make sure that those wide plethora of instruments are accessible for our entrepreneurs, that they have enough information, that the entry barrier is as low as possible. And AI is helping us in that sense that we're able to provide. So we started this project where we are building a financial counselor, AI-based financial counselor that provides information on all those products to our entrepreneurs. So let's say a farmer, he wants to lease an agricultural tractor or harvesting combine, and he doesn't know much about, he's not versed in financial instruments. So our goal is to convert all that legal terminology that we have in our rules, regulations, in a simple layman's language that he can choose the right product from our subsidiaries. And to answer your question, whether it's helping to increase the productivity, given our scale in Kazakh's economy, World Bank estimates that we provide around 12%, contribute to 12% of the GDP. So if AI helps us making our products accessible, and those products help increase productivity in our clients, then yes, AI is really helping us to increase productivity overall.
Oh, I see. And yeah, I really agree that it really boosts productivity. But in terms of the, just efficiency, we can also talk about, just workforce efficiency as well. And that brings me to question to Renat, to you. And just in the earlier at the beginning of the conference, the minister just told us the financial services market is really ahead of the digital technology in Kazakhstan, and I was very impressed that you can have credit in just 5 minutes or sell cars like this. So it was very impressive. And how do you see the AI is reshaping the financial markets in just not just for Kazakhstan or just one country, but for the whole emerging market, just place? Are there any specific use cases? Because, when you talk about finance, it's just about the customer experience as well. So what you can say about this?
Thank you, Kübra. Thanks to all for visiting us, and thanks, Aset, for organizing this event. That's very helpful. Because when we are talking about the startups in KZ, there's always difference between raising $1 million in KZ and raise $1 million in the Silicon Valley. Of course, it's much simpler here. So I believe this event will be very fruitful for all the startups. For the Freedom, just to give a short context, Freedom is a multinational company. Of course, we have many operations that are located in KZ, in Kazakhstan. And there we are building what we call digital ecosystem. And yes, Kazakhstan is very advanced in terms of the digitalization of the economy. As the minister said, we can do almost every action, including now notary, in online. And I can do it, for example, I need now to issue the power of attorney to my spouse, and I can do it like right now. The first, the product we are proud of is, of course, our digital mortgage. Basically, you can receive or take the mortgage fully digital, and it took it's taking like 1 day in ideal condition, but overall it doesn't take more than 2-3 days. And you don't have to go to the bank, you don't have to go to the notary, and you don't have to do anything offline. And that was the game changer, because in several months, our digital mortgage took approximately half of the commercial mortgage in KZ. Of course, we're exploring ways to use the modern technologies, let's say, but the Freedom is big now. When I came to the Freedom, there was, as I love to say, about 3.5 of the IT guys and probably 3 companies. Now we have about 1,000 people in information technologies and about 20 companies, which all, about 10 companies is now are obliged to be in the SOX compliance. It's Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which dictates how to create your financial reports, to prepare your financial reports in the United States, because at the end, Freedom is the US-based company that is listed on NASDAQ, and that's why we see our market cap every day, and today it reached $6.6 billion. And it's, of course, a great achievement for us. But as I said, Freedom has many companies. We have what Kübra said, this is financial sector, the traditional companies like bank, brokerage, the investment firm, insurance companies we have. And this is like the big houses, and also we have some lifestyle products like online ticketing for the events, for the to fly somewhere, airlines, all that stuff. And we have online grocery, we have payment system, and it's not only about KZ, it's also Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Armenia, it's also Europe. Our broker is the biggest one in the Cyprus now. So the business has grown, and of course, the technology or the role of technology also has grown. It shifted from just to do things in timely manner, in the right way. It shifted more to the strategy things, and of course, we are doing some strategy plans. We have technology strategy, and recently we have reviewed it and added the artificial intelligence there. Of course, we're using basically the digital mortgage that I spoke about is built on the machine learning model that evaluates many aspects of the potential client, and it's about 10 parameters different. And of course, it's like several its number of integrations that we have with the digital, with the different state authorities. And of course, we are using generative AI. Probably I will speak on that later on, because I see that everybody is very tech optimistic about AI. But as a CTO of the big holding, we also need to take account some pessimistic scenarios and pessimistic thoughts on that. It's not like our position, but it's always good to have some second opinion on that. And that opinion comes basically from the very respectable persons. But overall, yes, of course, we understand that the AI is here, and we must invest in that. But it's all built on the standard process or approaches. First of all, of course, we need to find the right people. Then we should build the processes, and only after that the technology come. But usually all the people replaces the technology. They say, there is an AI, let's do it. But there is no people, there is no processes, there even no organizational structure. And of course, that's in the end, that's why many, for example, digital initiatives failed, because it was very fashionable to have digital transformation. But eventually, many of these are failed because of the, in a nutshell, about the right management of this matter. Talking about the practice examples, we have, of course, what we are focusing on is to what we call hyper-personalization, is to provide clients with the products they need. Because the worst thing that can happen with the company is to propose to the client a product he doesn't need or she doesn't need, because it looks like spam. And that's why we are focusing on hyper-personalization. That's predictable models that, for example, we have this online platform Ticketon for the sales of the tickets. And what are scenarios of hyper-personalization is that, for example, I love the band that is called Il Divo. This is the international quartet, and they was recently in Almaty. And what my super app tells me is that, hey, we know that you love the Il Divo because we have access to your Spotify. You granted us, of course, not like spying. You granted us, and we know that you love the Il Divo. We already booked tickets for you, and you just need to select the seats. Of course, we pre-selected the seats. You just need to push the button and buy these tickets. Of course, they know how much they earn, and they can, in this case, they can show me the best tickets, for example, on the first rows. And that solves the problem of the client, which now, in our modern digital world, is also about this decision fatigue. You are tired of taking decisions. And if I, for example, the opposite side, what I'm talking about, without hyper-personalization, they will just push me the message that Il Divo is in Almaty. Probably I will miss it, or I don't know, I will turn off the pushes. And in this case, I wouldn't buy. But if I don't have to think when are they, what seats to choose, are they best or not, and I just push the button, that's releases me of this decision fatigue. So first of all, this is the hyper-personalization. That helps solves the client's needs, and of course eventually they are ready to pay for that, and that makes the difference between the freedom and other products on the market. The second is of course compliance and risk reduction, because the better we know all our clients, the better decisions we can take. And the third part that we are also working on is the backend things, like infrastructure, like information security, because, for example, the security copilot from Microsoft, despite the copilot for me personally, is not probably what I expected versus the ChatGPT, for example, because we are like now the normality is what ChatGPT is doing. And when you receive some lower functionality, you think that it's not the same, but security copilot is the best thing that would happen to the security operations center, because now you can investigate the incident in minutes versus it took like several hours before. So that's the great advantage that AI brings, for example, for city security. And it's a broad sense and architecture, infrastructure, and because, for example, now we can upload all our schemes on the internet network or something else, and we can get a second opinion faster. Then it would be like we invite some consulting companies to say whether we're good or not. Or, for example, does it comply some SOC 2, for example, or what we should do. So in this case, yes, it helps us to, on one side, create better products, on other, to be in compliance, because, for example, we have like about 20 regulators in different countries. So the compliance for us is a big thing we're doing. And third is like applied thing for us, for the IT guys, to be probably faster in some cases. So that's in a short what we're doing.
Yeah, sometimes I'm scared about how AI algorithms knows me well as well, and I'm gonna ask you about those pessimist questions in the next round. But now it's for Abdullah, Executive Director of IT Park of Uzbekistan. Just we talk about the enterprise guys, and now it's very crucial to have engagement with startups for those enterprise to catch the speed for sustainable growth or for test and learn processes as well. So, how you just play a crucial role, just fostering the AI ecosystem as well as driving your country's ambitions and digital economy. How do you see the future about the AI startup engagement?
Yeah, thank you, Kübra. Thank you. And I would like to say that many thanks to the organizers, Asad and Asror. They made a fantastic job. Just I want to say a few words about Uzbekistan. We are located in Central Asia. We are 37 million population. Every year we are growing up to 1 million population. It's I think one of the biggest growing population in the world, and we are #1 in Central Asia. And IT Park, we are special economic zone. We are provide free zero taxes for IT companies. Now 2,500 companies, the members of IT Park, their revenue last year was more than $1 billion. This year it will be around $2 billion. And the 35% of these companies it's export oriented. The export of these 2,500 companies was $350 million last year. And we are as well as supporting like IT education in Uzbekistan. We have our own university. It's the first like online university in Central Asia. We opened this university with IPAM company, and we are like supporting and creating infrastructure not only in Tashkent, in all regions. We are managing 250,000 square meters in all Uzbekistan. And also we have our venture fund. It's the size of this venture fund. It's $10 million. We have a fund which we are supporting with the loans entrepreneurs. The size of this fund around $25 million. And also we are supporting startups, organizing some incubation, acceleration programs, attracting foreign companies in Uzbekistan. And regarding AI strategy, this Uzbekistan, it's supported by the government, and we have the president decree till 2030 of AI strategy. And one of the key points of the strategy, it's the revenue of the startups of companies from the AI industry should be $1.5 billion till 2030. And the impact on the GDP should be at least 10%. It's a very ambitious goals. And third, point that Uzbekistan should be on the top 50 countries regarding the rating, top 50 AI readiness rating. And regarding this strategy, one of the points including that we should put our mention on the AI governance, as you said, AI ethics, of course, and AI education. I think it's similar in all countries as well, if we're talking about the regulation and strategy in terms of AI.
Thank you. And it's really interesting that such efforts are made in those regions, but I hope in the future they're gonna make future unicorns, decacorns, and we are gonna be ahead of the competition as Central Eurasia. And Alex, that brings me the question, we just talk about all the efforts we made about, just implementing and fostering the business, creating POCs, just making those deployment of AI solutions. But as just Renat told, still there is a failure for even the digital transformation before AI transformation. So my question is to you, what you think about what's the, just the problem just deploying the AI, solutions in those emerging markets in our culture? What do you think is the bottleneck?
Thank you very much for the question. And I want to really first introduce the markets which we operate in, as we operate in video generation markets. Video generation market is quite different from, let's say, security and operations automation, because for LLM, one of the key use cases is actually enterprise and streamlining operations in the enterprise. While when we look at video generation markets, the main use, like the end consumer are regular people like we are. It's not enterprises. What I mean is that enterprise use case for video generation is just those talking heads doing like internal presentations and explaining corporate rules. So, and eventually creators on TikTok, advertisers, Hollywood producers, they all pursue the same goal. They all want to grab attention of regular consumers, one way or another. What we're seeing is that generative AI is being a great equalizer, democratizing opportunity for video generation. And when we look at like overall level of adoption, we typically find out that Asian markets have enormously high level of visual generative AI tooling adoption. And this is actually, and when we, for example, when we launched our consumer application, we saw immediately, like within just first few weeks, we got to like over 1 million users, and most of them came from Asia. And the level of like, of knowledge of the tooling, the depth of usage is definitely much higher in Asian markets compared to, let's say, United States. Another thing which is, I think, important to mention is that that today we, roughly speaking, 80% of all traffic on the internet is video, and half of this traffic, like half of consumption of these videos, happen on the mobile phones. That's why we are seeing more and more contents on social media actually being AI generated. And there are forecasts that in probably next 3 years, 90% of pixels which we consume are gonna be AI generated. And we are working towards this future. I think, and I think when we look specifically, and when we think about implications to emerging markets, I think it positions emerging markets in a very favorable position, because traditionally content production was really skewed. Let's say global movies production was really skewed towards, like, say, LA and Hollywood. And I think now opportunities are gonna be more distributed, because more and more actors are actually willing to just license their identity for a movie without need to go to casting, to the set, and so on. They can just license their identity, and then a generative AI studio located, let's say, in Kazakhstan can produce a movie. I think this is a really fascinating future, and the level of innovation is unmatched. Like, I'm working on video generative AI for 10 years, and like I'm only 29, so I spent almost all my professional life working on video generative AI. And the progress, the pace of innovation over the last year is much higher than everything combines what's happened in the previous 9 years. I think another very interesting stat which I want to share with the audience is that today, I mean, a lot of Hollywood producers reached out to us. They want to use our technology. And the very interesting trend is that no one want to invest $100 million in some new movie production. They are ready to invest only $100 million only in Marvel, because because the predictability of success is really high. Otherwise, more and more movie producers are actually willing to explore generative AI to do relatively like low budget movie production for $5-10 million. And as we are seeing that, like, content production costs are going down, and more content, like studios and movie producers, are able to produce high quality content.
Now I have pessimistic opinions as well, like Renat. Okay, yes, it's a very good point. Yeah, you say it's a little bit scary, but it's gonna be a transformative power for the industry, and just advertisement as well. I think it's a little bit scary, but still it's gonna transform. I agree. And in that content, Meini, we just talk about for enterprise. If you have just do something in Uzbekistan and translate it to English and use it as a SAS business, you can use it almost from all around the world. Just in the companies, white collars, they kinda understand what they're doing with that software. But just to reach to the crowd, just implement it, scale in different just countries, especially in those regions. For example, we just originate in Central Asia. Some of the countries just originate from the same language family, but still we just don't understand the deep context of each other, not the basic conversation. So what you think about, what potential do you see in that natural language processing, just the making AI more accessible for everyone in the region, in emerging markets, not only for Central Asia, but all the emerging markets?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and hi everyone. Just a brief introduction to Cohere for all of you who might not know us. We are a foundational large language model provider, so it's direct competition to OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini. So we build our own proprietary large language models. And we're actually a bit on a mission to bring what we call Gen AI or large language models to every corner of the world through two initiatives. One is we have a research arm, C4AI it's called, who has now for about 3 years worked extensively with the entire globe to bring underrepresented, as we call it from a business perspective, underrepresented languages to our Gen AI LLMs, to our models. We just actually released a new model this week, which is very proficient across more than 100 languages. And so just if you also want to get involved, please do so. Just reach out. We have literally every one of those languages has come about by people in Kazakhstan or anywhere on the globe just spending some time annotating data, contributing to training of the model. And so it's pretty cool what all the languages out there are now already at a good level now. And that brings me to the second kind of initiative. It's not as proficient as the languages that we focus on from a commercial perspective. Our latest generation of models are very proficient in 10 languages. The ones that are coming towards the end of the year will be very proficient in 23 languages. But in addition to that, we have started going into various pockets of the world, Central Asia. For example, I'll be in Turkey in 2 weeks. We announced already in Japan, Korea is coming. Countries or regions where we work closely with either a business or the government together to build those large languages models proficient to a specific language. So for example, in Japan, we worked with Fujitsu. So we took our base models, very proficient in 10 languages, but then Fujitsu has a wealth of information, documents, tokens that we train our models with and that we now released Japanese models with. So I think it's just a bit of a, it takes a little bit of time. I think that the models, the base models, will become better and better at more and more languages. But I think we shouldn't wait in the emerging markets for that to happen, to be proficient enough, we should move now. We should go and work together between the proprietary model providers like us and big, organizations in any given one of those countries, to just bring a lot of information, words really, text to us, and then we can train those models in those languages. And it's super exciting to see what we're doing in those countries now, once it reaches that level of proficiency.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you're so right that we should have some kind of just data sharing ecosystems, because it's very crucial for AI to have structured, annotated data, and in each country we have our data. Just for example, your company is just doing some cool stuff with your own data. You're training your own models and doing some cool stuff with your own data. But I think we should have just some kind of data sharing ecosystems. For what you think for data availability, I'm asking all of your panelists, just answer one by one if you like. What should we do to create those data sharing ecosystems? Do we really need that? And if we need it, what governmental, academic, and business bodies take action? How can we achieve this? Or should we?
Well, I can take a step from my side. So the short answer would be we should have data sharing ecosystems frameworks. Just again, give an example from my perspective. As my colleague mentioned, Freedom Holding is one of the banks who are providing public services in Kazakhstan. There are other banks like Kaspi, Halyk. They're all able to provide public services thanks to the data sharing. So what Kazakhstan did is we built this ecosystem where the banks are able to connect to government APIs if they meet certain cybersecurity requirements, and then thanks to that they can provide services to their clients with the minimum number of documents in the application process. So in order to get that, for example, mortgage, probably you don't need to provide that much information, because the bank is able to get that from the governmental databases upon getting consent from the client. The other initiative that, again, I'm talking maybe from a governmental perspective, is that we in Kazakhstan created this data lake. We call it Smart Data Hükümet. Hükümet means government. So we've combined like around 100 databases into one data lake. The data is anonymized, so there are no issues with personal data. But thanks to combining the data in one place, we are able to provide more tailored services, more proactive services to citizens. As a representative of Baiterek, a holding that provides financial services to entrepreneurs, we're also benefiting from it. And just like this year, we've got an agreement with the Smart Data Hükümet operator, so that we can get information to run analytics, whether the help that we're providing to entrepreneurs, to businesses, is efficient or not. So maybe we should focus on some other industries rather than the current clients. So yes, we should have those frameworks and those ecosystems in data sharing.
What do you think? Is it where the pessimism enters the just a scene?
Yeah, please.
I think the scenario where the government is providing companies with the information is okay, but if we're talking about some extension when the companies are exchanging information, that's something is pretty difficult, because, for example, probably you don't want your one bank to have, namely, information about your transactions in other bank. That's why you open the second account, probably not to place this information all in one. And many other aspects are here, and probably the legal ones. I think the privacy is the key in our digital world, and this is some point of trust that clients are trusting the ecosystems. And basically, it's a philosophy question whether they will want or not. And probably the consent is not solving this issue because, let's us be honest, who really reads all these documents, like 50 pages document? Nobody reads it. So it should be very clear, very understandable what you are sharing and for what purposes. And what we see from the regulators body, like probably in US and also in other countries, and probably everyone is moving to some kind of GDPR European, that person should control its own privacy data. And for example, there is a right to cancel the consent. And for example, it also works now in Kazakhstan, because if you gave some consent to bank, you can also cancel it. And it all happens with the push of a button. So it's very difficult questions because somehow people say that it's very simple, but I like this quote that's saying is that there is no, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, yes. So many people think that it's very simple to implement, but not. As somebody says that it's a big bureaucratic machine and the first task of this machine is to protect the rights of the consumers and the privacy, of course. And the products are coming on the second stage because, first of all, you should ask the consumer whether he wants these services or not. That's...
Yeah, just want to add a few words. As Renat said, I think it's a key points. It's privacy and data protection. If we talk about only Uzbekistan, it's only 37 million. But if we talk about our whole region, it's Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Caucasus countries as well. It's more than 100 million. Yeah, and data privacy, data protection. I think it should be key element of this ecosystem of data sharing. It's a lot of points. It's taxes, it's like customs, etc., etc. But privacy, it's the most important thing.
Yeah, probably one thing I forgot to say. It's all about the culture, basically. Again, not all people, or let's say even the global culture, is not now about the data protection. So we should learn the people how they should deal with their personal data, whom they should consent. They should not send the IDs over the WhatsApp or any other messenger, for example. And there are many things we should do in this case, let's say privacy awareness, like security awareness. And there should be investments in the education of people on that matter. Because first of all, we need to build up the culture and make sure that 95 people are there before we want to make these people share the information.
I agree. Maybe especially it's difficult for healthcare, financial business. Just those are really sensitive data.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about the just the generative AI data and language processing. What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think of it in two ways. Just bringing that and the former question together. So in order to get proficient in a language, you need a lot of words and tokens to train that. And it also is quite costly, right? Someone needs to pay the supercomputer to train those models on a given language. So I think there's one aspect of who pays for that and how do we get all that data to train it. And what we have seen in literally 3 different markets, 3 different models. One was a joint venture approach where banks or organizations would come together and all provide data that is not that sensitive in order to get a better base model. It could be the government or it could be one single organization who says, I'm doing that and then I'll get some return by bringing it to the rest of the country. So that's one thing. In all of that, there's some form of sharing. But then I think the other thing is once you have that, privacy and protection with regards to data is very important, as we just heard. And I think the key there is to make it possible that you deploy those models locally, that you don't have to call on APIs and externally hosted models by any third-party provider, but that you can get those models just locally hosted. And you can then decide, is the local host giving a service to others, or is it just any given bank or so hosting it internally? And I think that's what you get with open source. That's also what you get with some closed source provider like ourselves. I think eventually I think of it like there's a base model that's a high school degree. There is customization on a language that's college degree. But then every organization wants their specific proprietary model on top of it, and that's like the PhD degree. And I think at that point it's very hard to share, because there's really, that's at the core of the IP of a given organization. So that's how we think of it.
Yeah, and maybe I wanted to briefly add on this topic, but from a perspective of video generation. So let's look. So video generation models are essentially transformers as well. So it requires a training data sets. Data sharing in video is like a huge issue, because the ground rules are not clearly defined. What we're seeing is that frontier models today are actually trained on Disney characters. I mean, they know about Disney character one way or another. I think there is no set of rules which defines if that's legal or illegal, and YouTube data is in a gray zone. Although we believe that there are more concerns actually not on the training side, but on the inference side. Let me please describe two specific issues which exist in video generation industry. First is misuse. I think today large social media providers like distribution platforms, they don't actually provide, they're just starting to provide an explicit marking for AI generated content. Meta introduced this just a few weeks ago. YouTube started doing this like maybe 2 months ago, but it's very early, and I think there has to be more work done on their side. And there has to be additional solutions for watermarking, like digital watermarking of AI generated videos to prevent misuse. And I think another issue is that when copyrighted IP becomes parts of the output video. I think there are no standards for these two issues which I just covered, and I think on the video side we are in extremely early phase. It's like a Wild West basically, where ground rules are not set up just yet. And I think there has to be like some moving force which kind of sets up the rules for the market, and it seems like it's gonna be, and there are several ongoing lawsuits against major video generation and image generation platforms like Runway ML and Stability and Midjourney, and probably those lawsuits are going to define this data sharing and protection mechanisms in video generation industry.
Thank you so much. We are going to take the questions at the end, if you don't mind, because we just have around just 20 minutes, so I have 2 questions left. So we talk about just the data requirements. Of course, the data sharing is still just a concern for all. Just everybody wants to do their businesses on-prem, but I'm just going to change topic a little bit. Just in Central Eurasia, just in emerging markets, just AI is at the competition. So we are just doing, just in the region, there are, just several good startups, promising startups, just already showing progress. We are just doing our own language models, doing our business, just enhancing that. A young population, a digital native population compared to the rest of the world, and high adaptation, but still AI is much more than that, considering those, the CPU race, energy demand, just there is a lot who just, makes the competition. So what you think, instead of, just the population and, just the, just the STEM educated IT employees benefits, what you think that in terms of infrastructure and energy demand, where we are we gonna, just catch the competition in terms of those supercomputers, just those kind of stuff that's gonna, just shape the future of AI?
I think I can answer because I said I'm very skeptic on some matters of AI. Well, for the context, to what we need to probably to be on one page is to discuss what AI do we mean really, because there are like 3 types of AI that basically academically now we know is like artificial narrow intelligence is what we use now basically. There is artificial general intelligence that would look like us, think as us, and probably behave like us. So it will be us, but in some sense digital ones. And there is artificial superintelligence that we really don't know how even will look like, and probably it will be like to explain the ideas of venture investments to the ant, but the ant will be us. And so we really don't know. But now we're speaking about ANI, artificial narrative intelligence, and basically the greatest thing about the freedom is that we have a very broad observation of what's happening, and we have, of course, investment division. And recently we spoke with our chief analyst, and he pointed me on the research of the Goldman Sachs that was issued in the end of June. And well, basically it's all about the generative AI, like too much to spend, too little to receive. And the question that arises in this research is about the what it will take to the world. Will it change it this world as internet did some time ago or not? Because eventually in the next years about $1 trillion will be spent on AI infrastructure. And the key question is what it will bring to us. Because probably you don't know who this guy, but I believe you know, you read his book. There is Darren, just a second. Yes, right. Yeah, he's a Turkish guy. Darren Acemoglu. He wrote this book probably and made him now very... No, not notable. Yes, it's Why Do Nations Fail? Yes, Why Do Nations Fails? Basically, he makes some calculations because he's a MIT professor on the in economics, and basically the question is that probably only 25% of the tasks that we see that AI will take, it will take. So it will not be as big as we now think. And probably we see it even in the ChatGPT, because eventually what tasks does it solve now? It's only the help in writing text or making the summaries or making some probably thinking. You can talk and think with the ChatGPT, but not more. Now, and yes, first of all, it was full excitement that wow, but now like 18 months after, we see that it's just an assistant that helps you with some routine. Now, with the generative AI. And again, all the limitations we have now, we haven't had this amount of power to be consumed. And basically, there is no this power. We should gain it somewhere. We should build more electricity grids or what. And eventually, who will pay for that? Because when somebody says, just train the model, well, it's not just. It will take months, 2, probably 1 year. And that is oversimplifies the process of AI in the minds of the population. That it's very simple. It's very, very simple. You just train the model and you will get the result. Well, no, because it will not happen in like overnight. So the key question, what we will receive when we will spend this $1 trillion? Because of course it will not be as a .coms in the early 2000s. It is technology, and even probably not like as I don't know what technologies else it was. But overall, yes, we should of course invest in that. From the points of Central Asia, of course, there are no such funds to fund own data centers, own probably the big language models, but we should at least train the people and get the expertise in the place, because in in the near future, as it was with the cloud, now almost everything moves to the cloud. Probably 80% of all the resources that our company places is in the cloud, because you don't have to build infrastructure. There are some limitations for banks and for that stuff, but overall it moved to the cloud. And probably these all resources, they all will be also in the cloud. Well, they're there now. You can rent some space or some GPUs in the Amazon Web Services or Microsoft. But overall, yes, we should invest. And I had also one more question, one more citate from the Jim Cavella, who is head of global equity at Goldman Sachs. He said interesting that we found that AI can update historical data in our company's models faster than doing it manually, but it comes at cost that increase it sixfold. So do we really need it? Like, for example, if something takes you 1 hour to do it manually, but then you found the technology to do it in 5 minutes but costs 10 times higher, do you really need it automated? Well, probably the right answer is no, and we should be. There is even the picture or meme which says that "Sell me this pen." Do you remember from the Wolf from the Wall Street? Sell me this pen. Well, it's AI powered. So yes, we should move from this hype to more like strategic and probably calm conditions.
Yeah.
We should definitely.
Just I would like add some short words, and AI. Anyway, it's our AI race. It's an end game, and each game there will be winners and the losers, and corporates, most corporates, countries as well, they will trying to be in right side, yes, and the winner's side, and I think we should adapt. We should adapt, and the most imply and the AI should be as a CX industry. It's a customer experience in the sales, and I'm sure that in 3-5 years, that's only we will talk with robots. Yes, we are AI agents. We will talk like when we're calling and when to us calling. Yeah, only it will be AI agents, and I'm believe that in the next 3-5 years that a lot of self-driving cars will be there.
Yeah, I would just like to add a couple of things. So, I hear some of the stats you mentioned, but then it's poor implementation. I think there's lots of use cases that we see also in production that have massive ROIs. And I also think, I do agree there's a hype, but that's normal at the beginning of a technology. It being the chatbots we see being just an assistant to retrieve, or that's a bit true, but in the next 3 months you will see a lot of agentic RAG come into production. We already have customers where basically you not only engage with information and retrieve information, but you ask the models to take action, and that takes intelligence in those latest generations of models that now, however, have started, and we see that. So hey, what is my ticket, support ticket, or if you want to return something, I want to return, can I return it? And it doesn't just tell you yes or no or what the return policy is, which is what we've seen half a year ago. You can just say, okay, make it let's start the process of returning, and then it goes to the return tool and prints out the return ticket and does all that. So I think it's a bit of a hype. That's normal, but it will last and it will be very impactful. And so I do think you should invest in those markets. I think you can actually really gain an advantage to other markets. I think any of the countries, if you had a super cluster where you can host locally, where I don't think you would want to necessarily invest in hosting or having super clusters or computers that do the base model training, because there's enough already, I would say, almost. It's hard to get into that race. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. But for what we mentioned earlier, the training for a specific language and or just to host locally inference for customers, banks, etc., I think it can absolutely catapult development with local innovation. So I would highly encourage to look into that. I think some of the governments are looking into that, and I think it's a great way to try to push a development. Yeah.
Maybe a quick addition on my side. First of all, I mean, definitely main funding happen. I mean, most of the funding happens actually on building these data centers, and we're seeing companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google actually spending their cash, which is sitting on their account, towards building this infrastructure. Most of these infrastructure products and also LLMs are actually not making huge margins. And we are seeing that the cost of intelligence, like running GPT-4 today, is like 200 times cheaper than it was like 2 years ago, basically. So, and I think it tells us that there will be like, when we look at like this GPT-4o model or recent Claude model, I think it's just gonna be insanely cheap in the next 2 years. I think there is an open question if it's gonna advance that much, if we will see much better models than Claude or not, because there are hardware limitations. In the same time, I agree that there are lots of use cases of agentic use cases which actually drastically increase performance of these, which allow to drastically increase performance of these base models. And inference is going to become insanely huge. And the good part for all of us, it's not us spending this money. It's like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google on the data centers.
Something or
No, just to clarify, don't get me wrong. It will have applied some things. It will be in use. But it's what we're saying is now it's represented as it will be life-changing. Well, yes, but no, because it will bring only, as guys discussed in the research, at 25%, for example. And there is a hopes that, for example, AI will grow GDP by 5% in US. But Darren is not agree and says that it will bring only 0.9 in next like 10 years, which is relatively small. But it's interesting that we had this discussion.
yeah, we had Darren almost a month ago in our the 100-year conference. He made a speech and he told that AI will be the #1 transformative agents, transformative force in the next upcoming 20 years. And this brings me to my last questions. We are running out of time, so I'm gonna merge two and ask your quick, just the takeaways. So it's gonna be like, we talk about, how it transforms, how it will transform our industries, emerging markets, and we agreed on investing more to develop, just the AI knowledge, talent, startups, and etc. So I'm just gonna ask you now. The trend is, just constantly changing. We talked recently, just that some will stay with us and transform the way we do business. Some will just, just pass the hype. So my question is, what is your last key takeaway for those who listens to us? And what you think in next 5 years? Nowadays, the agentic AI is the new sexy. But what will be, you think, the new sexy in the upcoming 5 years?
Well, then that's quite a difficult question. If I knew the answer to that, probably I'll be quite a rich man. But if we're talking about the near future, and from this conference on Central Eurasia, right? So from that perspective, we are probably lagging behind in some of the technologies, especially regarding AI. The next, what we are expecting is that we'll have local GPUs in Kazakhstan. So we're waiting for those export licenses so that we can have GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs in Kazakhstan, and that will extend our possibilities much more, because we have some restrictions on trans-border on sending data abroad. So, for example, if I am to train my models, I will have to use some cloud. I will have to send my data essentially to somewhere else, and I'm not that free to do that. So I'll have to anonymize it, to pre-process it, and that's a lot of restrictions. So maybe it's not like fully answer to your question, but at least that's the next step that I'm waiting for. So I'm very excited to have those GPUs in our country and to train our models. We are trying to train CAS LLM. Maybe that's like in line of your work. Actually, it's also a Turkish guy who's doing that. Maybe you know him, Mr. Atakan from Nazarbayev University. He's working on training CAS LLM. Yeah, so that would be my answer to your question.
What's your guess? By the way, my guess is, if it is recorded, my guess is we are going to be talking about the knowledge graphs or something like this.
No, I just hope that in 5 years, American banks and their mobile apps will catch up to Freedom mobile app and Kaspi mobile app, because like banking system in the United States really sucks. Sorry about that.
No, I probably will protect the U.S. banks, because what is difference between the Central Asian companies in the U.S. is basically that the infrastructure in the U.S., including the banks, including the software, including the banking systems, was built like 50 to 70 years. And I don't know any CTO in the U.S. bank who would say, let's change this automatic banking system. Well, rather, I think he will die but not change it. And that's why there is no demand on that. And that's super expensive task. But overall, we see Revolut, for example, who is doing some things.
Yeah, I don't know what will be. Anyway, we should adapt. Yes, as we adapted like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and we switched from a Nokia to iPhones, and we switched to from cars to EV cars. Yeah, we should adapt.
That brings us a
Yep.
future.
From my perspective, of course, lots of innovation happening to push the boundaries, to be at the forefront of the sexy object in 5 years. But I'll rather leave you with the opposite, not to think too far ahead and just do something that's tangible, that has impact now. And I always like when I talk, for example, to financial institutions, or it's about like, hey, show me the model that tells me what to invest, or commodity trading, what's the price? And of course the models help in that as well, but it's not as easy, and it's not a holy grail, not yet, and it won't ever be fully, but there's so much that you can do right now that just you take out very mundane tasks, you reduce workforce on those tasks to reconsider and reinvest in other areas. So to me, it's actually trying to focus on not so sexy tasks and getting them actually implemented. Yeah.
Implementation is more important than just the hypes, let's say.
Yeah, I think that in 5 years we will get this broader adoption of generative AI, of some advanced machine learning. Probably our kids will change the way they perform now, because even my daughter, who is like 5 years, she's behaving herself differently from the elder children, for example. She's different now. The talk with the AI assistant is normal to her, and that was not with us. Probably this will bring more cultural changes to us than technical ones. But I agree that the world is changing. We should be adaptive to survive. So probably it will bring the broader adoption, and this will be a commodity in 5 years. At least AI assistance will be the commodity for center purposes. But again, ChatGPT, for example, was trained on the data that is, for example, coming in the English language, but was not trained on Kazakh language. That's why we are building CAS LLM in Kazakhstan, just to be closer to the people who wants to receive this in Kazakh. So it will be also localized.
Yeah, there is an exciting future ahead. And thanks for listening. We're just, just past a little bit and time, but it was a really exciting conversation. So thank you so much for attending and participating in our panel. And okay, thank you so much.